Good day, students. My name is Kem Ramdas. I'm your lecturer for Quality Assurance 4, which is part of the B.Tech in Industrial Engineering. I'm sure you realize that industrial engineering is quite a challenging course, but I'm sure you are making the best out of it. In order for you to pass this course, it is important for you to have the textbook. This is the textbook that you need for Quality Assurance 4, and it is imperative that you get this textbook. Without this textbook, you will not be able to continue with the program. So there is the 7th edition, and there is also the 8th edition. Both are valuable and valid for this program. Just a little bit about myself. I have done the organization and work study qualification. I've done a number of qualifications, and I believe that distance education is quite challenging. In order for you to perform well in this program, you need to be consistent with your textbook. Reading your textbook a little bit every day will enhance your knowledge and your skills and will enable you to practice what you learn in your working environment. I understand that distance education is quite challenging, but with the time and effort that you put in and with communication with me, you should have no problems in passing this program. I would like to also give you a rundown of what this program is all about. So we're basically looking at quality management for organizational excellence, and I'm going to share with you some of the PowerPoints that has been developed for this program. So we're talking about Chapter 1, which is the total quality approach to quality management. Some of the major topics that's covered in this chapter is what is quality, the total quality approach defined, 2 views of quality, key elements of total quality pioneers, the key to total quality success, how is Six Sigma achieved, the future of quality management. So we're going to go through that a little bit more in detail. So looking at quality has been defined in a number of ways. When viewed from a customer perspective, it means meeting or exceeding customer expectations. Total quality is an approach to doing business that attempts to maximize an organization's competitiveness through the continual improvement of quality of products, services, people, processes, and environments. So if you're looking at this holistically, it basically entails every entity within the organization that has to know and understand what quality is all about. It starts on the sweeper on the ground floor of the organization to the CEO. Understanding of quality basically enhances the way we do things and makes it better every time we do it. Key characteristics of the total quality approach are: it is strategically based, there is customer focus, obsession with quality, scientific approach, long-term commitment, teamwork, employee involvement and empowerment, continual process improvement, bottom-up education and training, freedom through control, and unity of purpose. The rationale for total quality can be found in the need to compete in the global marketplace. What does it tell us? It basically tells us that we have to be better at what we do all the time because there's competition on an ongoing basis, both internally within the organization, nationally, as well as internationally, because the benchmarks are rising at every stage. Countries that are competing successfully in the global marketplace are seeing that quality of living improve in the countries that they are from. Those that cannot are seeing their decline. And a lot of countries are experiencing poor quality products. It's all through the culture of quality. If we have a good culture of quality, everything within the organization improves. Some of the gurus in quality is W. H. Deming, who is known for his 14 points and also his deadly diseases. Then there's Joseph Juran, who is known for his 3 basic steps to progress, Juran's 10 steps to quality improvement, the Pareto principle, and the Juran trilogy. Just a matter of interest, you will find that all past year examination papers have some sort of contribution in terms of the quality gurus. So it is imperative that you go through them diligently, understand them, because a lot of what they have said can be implemented and can improve the workplace. Common errors made when starting quality initiatives include senior management delegation and poor leadership, team mania, the deployment process, a narrow dogmatic approach, and confusion about the differences among education, awareness, inspiration, and team building. So, trends affecting the future of quality management include demanding global customers, shifting customer expectations, opposing economic pressures, and new approaches to management. The American Society for Quality offers certificates in quality management in terms of which has a range of certificates from quality manager to quality engineer to reliability engineer and so forth. Now I'm going to go to Chapter 2. Chapter 2 basically covers quality and global competitiveness. Some of the topics that we are dealing with is the relationship between quality and competitiveness, the cost of poor quality, competitiveness in the U.S. economy, and also we're basically talking about the U.S. economy. Look at the South African economy. Quite often I set questions that are related to the South African environment. So you need to bring back what we learn in the textbook to a national setting. Put it into practice in the South African situation. Then we go back to factors inhibiting competitiveness, comparison of international competitors, human resources and competitiveness. Characteristics of world-class organizations, management by accounting, antitheses of total quality, U.S. companies, global strengths and weaknesses, quality management practices in Asian countries. So basically in this slide we are looking at quality in a global context, its pros and cons. So the relationship between quality and competitiveness can be summarized as follows. In a modern global marketplace, quality is key to competitiveness. The costs of poor quality include the following: waste, rejects, retesting, rework, customer returns, inspection, recalls, excessive overtime, pricing errors, billing errors, excessive turnover, premium freight costs, development cost of the failed product, field service costs, overdue receivables, handling complaints, expediting, system costs, planning delays, late paperwork, lack of follow-up, excess inventory, customer allowances, and unused capacity. If you look at the list that I've given you, it basically runs into millions and millions of rands that goes by wasted and without anybody doing anything constructive to do something about it. Look at yourself. Look at the waste that you produce in your home. What do you do with your waste? You can basically, if you're looking at food, for example, the food that we have sometimes runs over and we have basically prepared more than we require. So we can keep it for the next day or we can give it to someone that needs it. And this is the way in which we can improve our country and ourselves as individuals. The United States came out of the World War II as the only major industrialized nation with its major sector completely intact. Germany and Japan were devastated by damage during the war. They rebuilt their manufacturing bases on the assumption that to compete globally, they would have to produce products of world-class quality. That strategy helped them recover and become world leaders in manufacturing. If you look at situations today, who are the leaders in terms of production, productivity, and innovation? It's basically Germany, Japan, and the United States. Where do we fall in? So we need to ask ourselves, what can we do in order to be competitive, innovative, and improve the way we do things? It shouldn't be that war should enable us to learn how we can become better and beat the opponent. It should be things that we do on a regular basis, and industrial engineering is a methodology, or it is a discipline that can be of great importance to everything that we do within our country, and it can improve productivity tremendously. Several factors can inhibit competitiveness, including those related to business and government, family and education. When making comparisons among internationally competing countries, the following indicators are usually used: the standard of living, trade and export growth, and manufacturing productivity. Where do we stand as far as South Africa is concerned? If you can ask yourself the question and see whether you would be able to do something about it, would be beneficial for everybody. The most important key in maximizing productivity and competitiveness is human resource. But how do we treat our people? Very importantly, I think respect and the ability to communicate with one another in a very diversified country would enable us to put our heads together and to make South Africa the best in the world. I'm now going to be talking to you about Chapter 3, a summary of Chapter 3. So Chapter 3 covers strategic management, planning and execution for competitive advantage. Some of the major topics in this chapter are: what is strategic management, competitive strategy, core competencies and competitive advantage, components of strategic management, strategic planning overview, creative thinking in strategic planning, conducting the SWOT analysis, developing the vision. So, developing the vision, developing guiding principles, developing broad strategic objectives, developing specific tactics, which is action play, executing the strategic plan, and strategic planning in action, a real-world case. Strategies that organizations can adopt for gaining a sustainable competitive advantage are cost leadership, differentiation, and market niche strategies. Core competencies are things an organization choose to do so that they can be viewed as providing a competitive advantage. Strategies are approaches adopted by organizations to ensure successful performance in the marketplace. Strategic management is management that is based on actions, activities, and decisions on what is most likely to ensure successful performance in the marketplace. The two major components of strategic management are strategic planning and strategic execution. Part of strategic planning is thinking creatively to eliminate sacred cows that work against competitiveness. Strategic planning is a process whereby organizations develop their vision, mission, guiding principles, broad objectives, and tactics for accomplishing the broad objectives. An organization's vision is its guiding force, the dream of what it wants to become, and its reason for being. An organization's mission describes who an organization is, what it is, and where it is going. An organization's guiding principles establish the framework within which it will pursue its mission. Together, the guiding principles summarize an organization's value system, the things it believes are most important for it to be successful. An organization's broader strategic objectives translate its mission into more specific terms that represent actual targets at which the organization aims. The objectives are more specific than the mission, but they are still broad. Tactics are well defined. Finite projects and activities undertaken for the purpose of specific broad outcomes in support of the broad objectives. Even the best strategic plan will serve no purpose unless it is effectively executed. To promote successful execution of strategies, organizations should undertake the following activities. And this is very, very important. Communicate, build capabilities, establish strategy support stimuli, eliminate administrative barriers, identify advocates and resistors, exercise strategic leadership, and monitor and adjust as needed. I am now doing chapter 4, which is quality management, ethics and corporate social responsibility. Definition of an overview of ethics, trust and total quality, values and total quality, integrity and total quality, responsibility and total quality, the manager's role in ethics, and the organization's role in ethics. As we move on, we're looking at handling ethical dilemmas, ethics training and code of business conduct, models of making ethical decisions, briefs versus behavior, why the disparity, ethical dilemma cases, and corporate social responsibility defined. Ethics about doing the right thing within a moral framework. The most common impediment to ethical conduct is human nature, because people tend to behave according to perceived personal interests. I'm sure you don't want me to elaborate about ethics and corruption in South Africa. If you had to sit and look at our South African landscape, we find ethical problems on a regular basis. You as a manager need to think about what is right, what is wrong, and speak to colleagues in order to clarify the situation. If you have problems with that, speak to your senior colleagues, your management, so that at the end you do not get into trouble yourself. Trust is a critical element of ethics, which in turn makes ethics critical in total quality. Trust is a 5-letter word. How important is it? Ask yourself, do you trust yourself? Do you trust your spouse? Do you trust your colleagues? In order to achieve your objective of obtaining or getting trust, you need to be trusted as well. So if you at some time have let someone down, that has left a scar in people's mind. So it is important for you. Trust can be in a smallest situation, meeting somewhere at a specific time, or being able to confide in that person for something simple. But if that gets blown out of proportion, it becomes unnecessary problems for yourself. Many of the fundamental elements of total quality depend on trust and ethical behavior, including communication, interpersonal relations, conflict management, problem solving, teamwork, employee involvement and empowerment, and customer focus. Let me elaborate on this a little bit more. We're talking about trust and ethics. And we're also looking at communication. We're looking at a diversified society. When we look at ourselves and our kind, when we talk about our kind, the people that we can relate to, that are of the same culture, same background, and also we're looking at diversity. And quite often we look at people of a different race in a different light. And we sometimes stigmatize people. And this needs to stop. Because if we want to build a South Africa that is in tune with global standards in terms of competition and doing things right the first time, we need to be able to trust one another, and we need to be able to do the right things. So it's important for us, in terms of total quality, to be able to trust everybody within the organization, and for everybody to act ethically within the organization. Trust can be built by being loyal to those not present. If your friend is not there, or if you're speaking behind someone's back, do you think that's ethical? Think about it. Trust can be built by being loyal to those present, keeping promises, and sincerely apologizing when necessary. How difficult it is for us to apologize. We have an argument with someone, we turn our face the other side, and then we walk away. But we do not realize what a problem we have left behind us. If you have a consciousness that worries you, it's going to not let you sleep forever. So you need to make a 360-degree turn, face the problem, think about the problem, and resolve the problem. It is your prerogative, so that people do not look at you in a bad light. So, and you are not the topic of discussion in the next meeting or the next situation. Values are the core beliefs that guide our behavior. Individuals and organizations apply their knowledge and skills most willingly to efforts in which they believe. Managers should work to establish an environment in which values that lead to ethical behavior and values that lead to peak performance are the same. Integrity requires honesty, but it is more than just honest. Integrity is a combination of honesty and dependability. People with integrity can be counted on to do the right thing, or to do it correctly, or to do it on time. Accepting responsibility is a part of ethical behavior. People who pass blame are not behaving ethically. In a total quality setting, people are responsible for their performance. When speaking of their organization, ethical people say we instead of they. Managers play a key role in ethics in an organization. They are responsible for setting an example of ethical behavior, helping employees make ethical choices, and helping employees follow through and behave ethically after making an ethical choice. In carrying out these responsibilities, managers can use the best ratio approach, the black and white approach, and the full potential approach. I'm sure you've seen past exam papers, and ethics, if you look at ethics, it basically comes out in a lot of your examinations in different forms. So it is imperative, because it is a topic that is in the spotlight in South Africa on a regular basis. So I think and from a knowledge perspective, and from the discussions we have, ethics is basically an everyday affair. So questions of ethics are possible in your examinations. The organization's role in fostering ethical behavior includes creating an ethical environment and setting an ethical example. The key in creating an ethical environment is having a comprehensive ethics policy. Key in setting an example is following the policy, expecting all employees to follow the policy, and rewarding those who do. Quite often we have in organizations a situation where people do not read the policy, and they basically make decisions without reading the policy, and which quite often leads them into problems. In handling ethical dilemmas, management should select the option that is most likely to build trust, integrity, and a sense of responsibility that is most likely to pass the various ethics tests. Example, front page, morning after, etc. People who believe in ethical values will sometimes make unethical decisions because of self-interest, self-protection, conflicting values, or because they see the benefits as being intangible or deferred. Key elements of corporate social responsibility include the ethical aspects of the following issues: human rights, safety and health, business practice, governance, environmental engagement, consumer relations, marketplace activities, community involvement, and social development. We are now looking at Chapter 5, Partnering and Strategic Alliances. And some of the major topics in this chapter include partnering or strategic alliances, innovative alliances and partnerships, internal partnering, partnering with suppliers, partnering with customers, partnering with potential competitors, global partnering, education and business partnerships. Now let us get to the crux of partnering. What is partnering? It means working together for mutual benefit. It involves pooling resources, sharing costs, and cooperating in ways that mutually benefit all parties involved in the partnership. Partnerships may be formed internally among employees or externally with suppliers, customers, and potential competitors. The purpose of partnering is to enhance competitiveness. The formation of partnerships should be a systematic process involving such steps as development of a partnering briefing, identification of potential partners, identification of key decision makers, and implementation of the partnership. Internal partnering operates on three levels: management to employees, team to team partnerships, and employee to employee partnerships. The purpose of internal partnering is to harness the full potential of the workforce and to focus it on the continuous improvement of quality. Internal partnering is also called employee involvement or employee empowerment. Successful internal partnering requires a supportive environment, structured mechanisms, and mutually supportive alliances. So the goal of supplier partnership is to create and maintain loyal, trusting relationships that will allow both partners to win while promoting the continuous improvement of quality, productivity, and competitiveness. The requirements for success in supplier partnerships include the following. Supplier personnel should interact with employees who actually use their products. The price-only criteria in the buyer-supplier partnership, buyer-supplier relationship should be eliminated. The quality of products delivered should be guaranteed by the supplier. The supplier should be proficient in just-in-time, and both parties should be capable of sharing information electronically. The goal of a supplier partnership is imperative in quality because it enhances the current status of the operations of the organization. Supplier partnerships typically develop in the following stages: uncertainty and tentativeness, short-term pressure, realization of the need for new approaches, adoption of new paradigms, awareness of potential, adoption of new values, and mature partnering. The rationale for forming customer partnerships is customer satisfaction. The best way to ensure customer satisfaction is to involve customers as partners in the product development process. Doing so is, in turn, the best way to ensure competitiveness. Customer-defined quality is a fundamental aspect of total quality. Medium and small-sized enterprises or SMEs, even those that compete in the same markets, can benefit from partnering. The most widely practiced form of partnership among SMEs is the manufacturing network. A manufacturing network is a group of SMEs that cooperate in ways that enhance their quality, productivity, and competitiveness. Mutual need and interdependence are the characteristics that can make manufacturing networks succeed. Widely practiced network activities include joint production, education and training, marketing, product development, technology transfer, and purchasing. Education and business partnerships are formed to help organizations continually improve their people and how they interact with process technologies. Services will provide Services provided include on-site customized training, workshops, seminars, technical assistance, and consulting. I'm now going to be talking about Chapter 6, which revolves around quality culture, changing hearts, minds, and attitudes. Some of the major topics discussed in the chapter are understanding what a quality culture is, quality culture versus traditional cultures, activating cultural change, changing leaders to activate change, laying the groundwork for a quality culture. Learning what a quality culture looks like, countering resistance to cultural change, establishing a quality culture, maintaining a quality culture. A quality culture is an organizational value system that results in an environment that is conducive to the establishment and continual improvement of quality. It consists of values, traditions, procedures, and expectations that promote quality. Implementing total quality necessitates cultural change in an organization for the following reasons. Change cannot occur in a hostile environment. Moving to total quality takes time. It can be difficult to overcome the past. Change can be difficult because resistant change is a natural human behavior. In an organization there will be advocates of change and resistors. Sometimes advocates focus so intently on the expected benefits of change that they fail to realize how the change can be perceived by potential resistors. People resist change for the following reasons: fear, uncertainty, loss of control, and more work. To overcome resistance to change, advocates can apply the following strategies: involve potential resistors, avoid surprises, move slowly at first, start small and be flexible, create a positive environment, incorporate the change, provide a quid pro quo, respond quickly and positively, work with established leaders, treat people with dignity and respect, be constructive. Strategies for establishing a quality culture include the following: identify the changes needed, put the planned changes in writing, develop a plan for making the changes, understand the emotional transition process, identify key people and make them advocates, take a hearts and minds approach, apply courtship strategies, support. We are now on Chapter 7, which deals with customer satisfaction, retention, and loyalty. Some of the major topics in this chapter are understanding who is the customer, understanding customer-defined quality, identifying external customer needs, identifying internal customer needs, communicating with customers, using customer feedback to make design improvements. We're also talking about the customer satisfaction process, customer defined value, customer value analysis, customer retention, establishing a customer focus, recognizing the customer driven organization, value perception and customer loyalty, the customer loyalty model, customer loyalty versus customer profitability, customers as innovation partners. To go on a little further, now we're going into a little bit of the subject content, a little bit about the chapter. Historically, customers were considered who used a company's products, and suppliers were outsiders who provided the materials needed to produce products. A more contemporary view is that every organization has both internal and external customers. An external customer is the one referred to in the traditional definition. An internal customer is any employee whose work depends on that of employees whose work precedes his or hers. So if you're looking at this definition, an external customer is basically outside your organization. He buys and he uses your products. All your internal customers are basically within the supply chain of the organization. So every process that happens, every process preceding an operation or a task is considered, all are considered as internal customers. In a total quality setting, customers define quality. Therefore, customer satisfaction must be the highest priority. Customer satisfaction is achieved by producing high quality products that meet or exceed expectations. It must be renewed with every purchase. The key to establishing a customer focus is to put employees in touch with customers so that customers' needs are known and understood. The 6-step strategy for identifying customers' needs is as follows. Speculate about results, develop an information gathering plan, gather information, analyze the results, check the validity of conclusions, and take action. Customers' needs are not static. They are changing all the time. So one has to use the continuous improvement philosophy in order to keep abreast with what customers require. Therefore, consistent contact with customers is essential in a total quality setting. Whenever possible, this contact should be in person or by telephone. Written surveys can be used, but they will not produce the level of feedback that personal contact can generate. Quality function deployment. Another important aspect of quality, which basically evaluates a product and some of the issues that some of the important variables that enable a product to function effectively. So quality function deployment is a mechanism for putting into operation the concept of building in quality. It makes customer feedback a normal part of the product development process, thereby improving customer satisfaction. Measuring customer satisfaction alone is not enough. Organizations should, in addition, measure customer retention. Organizations should go beyond satisfying customers to creating value for them in every supplier-customer interaction. The customer loyalty model consists of 4 components: business performance, global perceptions, loyalty behaviors, and financial outcomes. The goal of organizations should be more than just earning customer loyalty. It should be earning the loyalty of profitable customers. Organizations should never assume a positive correlation between customer loyalty and profitability, nor should they assume that a customer who is initially profitable will always be profitable. An innovative approach to product development that is gaining acceptance is turning customers into innovation partners. With this approach, the customer is given a technological tool kit for designing his or her own products and making product innovations. This approach is implemented using the following steps. Develop a toolkit for customers that is easy to use. Increase the flexibility of your own production processes. Carefully select the first customers to use your toolkit. Continually improve your toolkit. Adapt your business practices to suit the innovation partnership approach. In order to retain customers over the long term, in today's hyper-competitive global environment, organizations must innovate. If the key to customer loyalty is consistently providing superior value, superior quality, superior cost, and superior service, the key to providing superior value is innovation. Innovation is how organizations continually improve the quality and cost of their products, as well as the quality of their services. It is also how they continually decrease the cost of doing business while increasing the volume of business they do. We are now on Chapter 8, Employee Empowerment. Some of the major topics in this chapter are employee empowerment defined, the rationale for empowerment, inhibitors of empowerment, management's role in empowerment, implementing empowerment, how to recognize empowered employees, beyond empowerment to enlistment. Okay, now we go into the subject in a little more detail. Empowerment means engaging employees in the thinking processes of an organization in ways that matter. Involvement means having input. Empowerment means having input that is heard and used, and it means giving employees ownership of their jobs. Empowerment requires a change in organizational culture, but it does not mean that managers abdicate their responsibility or authority. The rationale for empowerment is that it is the best way to increase creative thinking and innovation on the part of employees. This in turn is an excellent way to enhance an organization's competitiveness. Another aspect of the rationale for empowerment is that it can be an outstanding motivator. The primary inhibitor of empowerment is resistance to change. Resistance to change may come from employees, unions, and management. Management-related inhibitors include fear of losing control, I'm the boss syndrome, status, outdated management training, old school syndrome, and fear of exclusion. Management's role in empowerment is best described as commitment, leadership, and facilitation. The kinds of support managers can provide include having a supportive attitude, role modeling, training, facilitating, employing MBWA, taking quick action on recommendations, and recognizing the accomplishments of employees. The implementation of empowerment has 4 broad steps: creating a supportive environment, targeting and overcoming inhibitors, putting the vehicles in place, and assessing, adjusting, and improving. Vehicles include brainstorming, nominal group technique, quality circles, and suggestion boxes, and walking and talking. A workforce that is ready for empowerment is accustomed to critical thinking, understands the decision-making process, and knows where it fits into the big picture. Enlistment is empowerment in which ownership is not just allowed but expected. We are now on Chapter 9, Leadership and Change. One of the major imperatives of TQM and any quality model and anything to do with industrial engineering is about leadership. If we have the right attitude, the right behavior, the right leadership, change will take place. So some of the major topics in this chapter are leadership defined, leadership for quality, leadership skills, inherited and learned, leadership, motivation and inspiration, leadership styles in a total quality setting, building and maintaining a following. Leadership versus management, leadership and ethics, leadership and change, employees and managers on change, restructuring and change, how to lead change, lessons from distinguished leaders, servant leadership and stewardship. Negative influences on leaders, how to counter them. Leadership is the ability to inspire people to make a total, willing, and voluntary commitment to accomplishing or exceeding organizational goals. Good leaders overcome resistance to change, broker the needs for constituent groups inside and outside the organization, and establish an ethical framework. Good leaders are committed to both the job to be done and the people who must do it. They are good communicators and they are persuasive. Leaders should learn to follow first and then lead. The key elements of leadership for quality are customer focus, obsession with quality, recognition of the structure of work, freedom through control, unity of purpose, looking for faults in the system, teamwork, continuing education and training, and emphasis on best practices, peak performance. Common leadership styles include the following: democratic, participative, goal-orientated, and situational. The appropriate leadership style in a total quality setting it is participative, taken to a higher level. Leadership characteristics that build and maintain fellowship are a sense of purpose, self-discipline, honesty, credibility, common sense, stamina, steadfastness, and commitment. Leaders can build trust by applying the following strategies: taking the blame, sharing the credit, pitching in and helping, being consistent, being equitable. To facilitate change in a positive way, leaders must have a clear vision and corresponding goals, inhibit a strong sense of responsibility, be effective communicators, and have a high energy level and have the will to change. When restructuring, organizations should show that they care, let employees vent, communicate, provide outplacement services, be honest and fair, provide for change agents, and have a clear vision, offer incentives, and train. The change facilitation model contains the following steps: developing a compelling change picture, communicate the change picture to all stakeholders, conduct a comprehensive roadblock analysis, remove or mitigate roadblocks, communicate, implement and incorporate change, implement the change, monitor and adjust. Servant leadership and stewardship go beyond employee empowerment to employee autonomy and seek to create an environment in which employees perform out of the spirit of ownership and commitment. Leaders can counter the negative influence of followers by keeping vision and values upmost in their minds, looking for disagreement among the advisors, encouraging truth-telling, setting the right example, following their intuition, monitoring delegated work. We are now dealing with Chapter 10, Team Building and Teamwork. Some of the major topics in Chapter 10 are overview of team building and teamwork, building teams and making them work, the 4-step approach to team building, character traits and teamwork. Teams are not bossed, they are coached. Handling conflict in teams, structural inhibitors of teamwork, rewarding team and individual performance, recognizing teamwork and team players, leading multicultural teams. A team is a group of people with a common collective goal. The rationale for the team approach to work is that 2 heads are better than 1. A group of people becomes a team when the following conditions exist. There is agreement as to the mission, members adhere to the ground rules, there is a fair distribution of responsibility and authority, people adapt to change. Teams can be classified as department, process improvement, and task force teams. Factors that promote the success of a team are personal identity of team members, relationships among team members, the team's identity within the organization. To be an effective team leader, one should apply the following strategies: be clear in the team's mission, identify success criteria, be action-centered, establish ground rules, share information, cultivate team unity. One can be a good team member by applying the following strategies: gain entry, be clear on the team's mission, be well prepared and participate, stay in touch. After a team has been formed, a mission statement should be drafted. A good mission statement summarizes the team's reason for being. It should be broad enough. It should be broad enough to allow for the measure of progress. Character traits that promote successful teamwork are honesty, selflessness, dependability, enthusiasm, responsibility, cooperativeness, initiative, patience, resourcefulness, punctuality, tolerance, sensitivity, and perseverance. Teams are not bossed, they are coached. Coaches are facilitators and mentors. They promote mutual respect among team members and foster cultural diversity. Employees will not always work well together as a team just because it is the right thing to do. Employees might not be willing to trust their performance in part to other employees. Common structural inhibitors in organizations are unit structure, accountability, unit goals, responsibility, compensation, recognition, planning, control. Team and individual compensation systems can be developed in 4 steps. Decide what performance to measure. Determine how to measure the performance. Identify the rewards to be fostered. Integrate related processes. Challenges faced when leading multicultural teams include differing approaches to decision making, attitude towards authority, attitudes towards work, and approaches to communication. We are now on chapter 11, effective communication. Just as a matter of interest, I would like to mention that communication is a resolver of all problems. Without communication, you and your colleagues would not be able to achieve your objective. Therefore, confirmation as to spoken words as well as understanding among colleagues will save a lot of trouble in terms of misunderstanding. So now we're looking at some of the major topics in communication: defining communication, understanding the role of communication in total quality, understanding communication as a process, recognizing inhibitors of communication, establishing a conducive communication climate, communicating by listening, understanding non-verbal communication factors, communicating verbally, communicating in writing, communicating corrective feedback, improving communication, how interpersonal skills affect communication, personality and communication. Communication is the transfer of a message that is both received and understood. This is very, very important because this is one of our major problems that we have today, which is a lack of understanding in terms of what the other person has said. Effective communication is a higher order of communication. It means that the message is received, understood, and being acted on in the desired manner. Communication is the oil that keeps the total quality engine running. Without it, total quality breaks down. Communication plays the role of facilitation in a total quality setting. So now you would understand that for total quality to be understood throughout the organization, there needs to be continuous communication. Communication is a process that involves a message, sender, receiver, and a medium. The message is what is being transmitted, information, emotion, intent, or something else. The sender is the originator of the message, and the receiver is the person to whom it goes. The medium in the vehicle used to transfer the message. So this is another component, the medium. Various factors can inhibit communication. Prominent among these are differences in meaning, a lack of trust, information overload, interference, premature judgment, kill the messenger syndrome. condescending tone, inaccurate assumptions, listening problems. Okay, we are now doing chapter 12, which is called Education and Training. Some of the major topics in this chapter are the overview of education, training and learning, rationale for training, training needs assessment, providing training, evaluating training, managers as trainers and trainees, workforce literacy, improving learning, why training sometimes fails, quality training curriculum, orientation training, customer training, ethics training, making e-learning work. So what is training? Training is an organized, systematic series of activities designed to enhance an individual's work-related knowledge, skills, understanding, and motivation, and also behavior and attitude. Training is distinguished from education by its characteristics of practicality, specificity, and immediacy. Education is a broader concept that is more philosophical and theoretical in nature than training. Corporate training in the United States has historically focused more on managers than on workers. However, with the advent of total quality, the focus is beginning to change. Historically, corporate America has not placed a priority on training as have companies from global competition. However, with the increased pressure from global competition, this attitude is beginning to change. The rationale for training can be found in the following factors: quality of an existing labor pool, global competition, rapid and continual change, technology transfer problems, changing demographics. It is important to place the emphasis of training on those who need it most and to ensure that training is designed to promote the organization's goals. These requirements are met by assessing training needs before providing training. Training needs can be assessed by observing, brainstorming, and surveying. Training needs should be converted into training objectives that are stated in behavioral terms. Training can be provided in-house through corporate-owned education and training facilities in conjunction with colleges, universities, and professional organizations via satellite links. Evaluating training begins with a clear statement of purpose. With a statement of purpose drafted, the next step is to ask the following questions. Was the training valid? Did the employees learn? Has the training made a difference? Managers who serve as trainers should understand the principles of learning and the 4-step teaching method: preparation, presentation, application, evaluation. In presenting instruction, trainers should remember that people learn by doing. Widely used instructional approaches are lecture, discussion, demonstration, teleconference, simulation, and videotaped programmed and interactive video instruction. Functional illiteracy affects business and industry as follows: difficulty in filling high-skilled jobs, low productivity, high levels of waste, higher potential for damage to sophisticated equipment, more dissatisfied employees. Before putting employees in training, it is a good idea to teach them study skills that will enhance their learning. They should learn to make a schedule and stick to it, have a special place to study, listen and take notes, read assertively, study regularly instead of cramming. When training fails, the reason is often a lack of participation by management or insufficient scope, focusing on the specifics before teaching the big picture. Quality training should be divided into 3 broad categories of study: quality planning, quality control, and quality improvement. Orientation training sometimes fails. When it does, the cause is usually one of the following factors: insufficient information, too much information, conflicting information. To improve orientation training, organizations should base orientation topics on a needs basis, on a needs assessment, establish an organization framework, establish learner control, make orientation a process rather than an event, allow people and personalities to emerge, reflect the organization's missions and culture, have a system for improving and updating. Topics frequently dealt with in ethics training include drug and alcohol abuse, theft, conflicts of interest, abuse of expense accounts, misuse of company property. Kickbacks, bribery, improper relations with government officials, fraud, false advertising, e-learning works, but when learning coaches and mentors are provided. Okay, we're now looking at chapter 13, which is overcoming politics, negativity, and conflict in the workplace. This chapter has previously been left out by the previous lecturer, but I thought it is a very important aspect in total quality management, so therefore I have included it as part of your studies. It is important for you to get to grips because we basically experience politics, negativity, and conflict on a regular basis. But how do we deal with it? We need to sit back, think before we act. Quite often these kind of issues become outblown and become into a very nasty experience both for myself and for yourself. So we have to have a straight head and deal with this as effectively as we can in order to prevent problems, in order to have a peaceful sleep at night. Some of the major topics in this chapter are internal politics defined, power and politics, organizational structure and internal politics in action, internal politicians and their methods, impact of internal politics on quality, controlling internal politics in organizations, overcoming negativity in organizations, overcoming territorial behavior in organizations, managing conflict in organizations. Internal politics consists of activities undertaken to gain advantage or influence organizational decision making in ways intended to serve a purpose other than the best interest of the overall organization. It is the games people play to promote decisions that are based on criteria other than merit. Organizational structure is not the cause of internal politics. All of the widely used organizational structures are susceptible to internal politics. Several concepts, personal insecurity, self-interest, a hunger for power, ambition, ego, and the need for acceptance are the primary drivers of internal politics. The most commonly used methods of internal politicians are as follows: lobbying, building coalitions, applying harassment and pressure, electioneering, gossiping, and spreading rumors. The rationale for collaboration is found in the debilitating effect internal politics can have on an organization. Internal politics can drain an organization of its intellectual and physical energy and in the process take away its ability to compete. An organization's effort to control internal politics should be at least the following components: strategic planning, leadership, reward recognition, performance appraisal, customer focus, conflict management, and culture. The most common categories of negative behavior are control of disputes, territorial boundary disputes, dependence and independence issues, need for attention and responsibility, authority, and loyalty issues. The following symptoms are indicators of negativity in the workplace: I can't attitudes, they mentality, critical conversation, and blame fixing among employees. To overcome negativity, organizations should communicate, establish clear expectations, provide opportunities for anxiety venting, build trust, and involve employees. Territorial behavior in organization manifests itself in the following ways: occupation, information manipulation, intimidation, alliances, invisible walls, strategic non-compliance, discredit, shunning, camouflage, and filibustering. The following strategies will help when trying to overcome territorial behavior. Avoid jumping to conclusions. Attribute the behavior to instinct rather than people. Ensure that employees don't feel attacked. Avoid generalizations. Understand irrational fears. Respect each individual's perspective. Consider the employee's point of view. Causes of workplace conflict include limited resources, incompatible goals, role ambiguity, different perspectives, poor communication. Managers have two responsibilities regarding conflict in the workplace: conflict resolution, conflict simulation. Conflict should be stimulated to overcome excessive compliance and complacency. We are now on Chapter 14, ISO 9000 and Total Quality, the relationship. Some of the major issues discussed in this chapter are ISO 9000, the International Standard for Quality Management Systems, ISO 9000's objective, how ISO 9000 is applied to organizations, the ISO 9000 Quality Management System, a definition, authority for certification and registration, the ISO 9000 registration statistics. Organizational registration to ISO 9001, the benefit of ISO, or the origin, the comparative scope of ISO 9000 and total quality management, management motivation for registration to ISO 9001, ISO 9000 and total quality management working together, the future of ISO 9000. ISO 9000 is based on 8 principles: customer focus, leadership, involvement of people, process approach, system approach to management, continual improvement, factual approach to decision making, and mutually beneficial supplier relationships. The overall aim of ISO 9000 is to make registered organizations more competitive. ISO 9000 is applied to organizations on a volunteer basis. It tells the organization what they must do to conform, but not how to do it. The quality management system must include the following: a quality policy, the quality manual, quality objectives, the forms and records. In order for an organization to become an ISO 9000 registrar, it must be approved by an accrediting body such as the International Accreditation Forum. The most widely used industry-specific applications of ISO 9000 are ticket as AS9000, PS9000, ISO TS16949, TL9000, ISO 13485, and ISO TS29001. The ISO registration can benefit an organization by improving customer satisfaction, cost, risk management, and in turn competitiveness. The various updates to ISO 9000 are ISO 1987, ISO 9000 1994, ISO 9001 2000, ISO 9001 2008, and ISO 9001 2015. The key issue in the 2015 update is risk. The following statements describe the relationship between ISO 9000 and TQM. ISO 9000 and TQM are not completely interchangeable. ISO 9000 is compatible with and can be a subset of TQM. ISO 9000 is frequently implemented in a non-TQM environment. ISO 9000 can improve operations in a traditional environment. ISO 9000 may be redundant in a mature TQM environment, and ISO 9000 and TQM are not in competition. The origins of ISO 9000 and total quality management are vastly different. ISO 9000 was developed in response to the need to harmonize dozens of national and international standards relating to quality. Total quality got its start in Japan around 1950 as a way to help that nation compete in the international marketplace. The new aim of ISO 9000 is to enable organizations to better serve their customers and to be more competitive through adherence to the Standards 8 quality management principles. Appropriate motivations for implementing ISO 9000 are as follows: to improve operations, to improve or create a quality system, to improve the consistency of quality, to improve customer satisfaction, to improve competitive posture, to conform to the requirements of customers. The appropriate motivation for implementing TQM is a desire to continually improve all aspects of an organization. ISO 9000 and TQM are compatible in that ISO 9000 can be a complementary subset of TQM. ISO 9000 can give an organization a head start in implementing TQM. We are now looking at Chapter 15, an overview of total quality tools. This is very important. This is a very important chapter, and quite often it is mentioned in your examination. So it is imperative for you to go through it and to be able to apply it in your organizational setting. Some of the major topics in this chapter are total quality tools defined, the Pareto chart, cause and effect diagrams, check sheet, histograms, scatter diagrams, run charts and control charts, stratification. Some other tools introduced, management's role in tool deployment. Pareto charts are useful for separating the important from the trivial. They are named after Italian economist and socialist Vilfredo Pareto. Pareto charts are important because they can help an organization decide where to focus limited resources. The Pareto principle holds that a few significant causes lead to the majority of problems. The cause and effect diagram was developed by the late Dr. Kaoru Ishikawa, a noted Japanese quality expert. Others have thus called it the Ishikawa diagram. Its purpose is to help identify and isolate the causes of problems. It is the only one of the 7 basic quality tools that is not based on statistics. The check sheet is a tool that facilitates collection of relevant data, displaying it in a visual form easily understood by the brain. Check sheets make it easy to collect data for specific purposes and to present it in a way that is automatically converts it into useful information. Histograms have to do with variability. 2 kinds of data are commonly associated with processes: attributes data and variables data. An attribute is something that the output product of the process either has or does not have. Variables data are data that result when something is measured. A histogram is a measurement scale across one axis and a frequency of like measurements on the other. The scatter diagram is arguably the simplest of the 7 basic quality tools. It is used to determine the correlation between 2 variables. It can show a positive correlation, a negative correlation, or no correlation. Stratification is a tool used to investigate the cause of a problem by grouping data into categories. Grouping of data by common element or characteristics make it easier to understand the data and to draw insights from them. In the context of the 7 total quality tools, run charts and control charts are typically thought of as being one tool together. The control chart is a more sophisticated version of the run chart. The run chart records the output results of a process over time. For this reason, the run chart is sometimes called a trend chart. The weakness of the run chart is that it does not tell whether the variation is the result of special causes or common causes. This weakness gave rise to the control chart. On such a chart, data are plotted just as they are on a run chart, but a lower control limit, an upper control limit, and a process average are added. The plotted data stays between the upper control limit and the lower control limit while varying about the center line or average only so long as the variation is a result of common causes such as statistical variation. Other useful quality tools are the 5S, flowcharts, surveys, failure mode and effect analysis, and design of experiments. The 5S is used to eliminate waste, reduce errors, defects, and injuries. Flowcharts are used in total quality setting for charting the inputs, steps, and functions and outflows of a process to understand more fully how the process works and who or what has input to and influence on the process, what its inputs and outputs are, and even its timing. The survey is used to obtain relevant information from resources that otherwise would not be heard from in the context of providing helpful data. Failure mode and effect analysis, FMEA, tries to identify all possible potential product or process failures and prioritize them for elimination according to their risk. Design of experiments is a sophisticated method for experimenting with complex processes for the purpose of optimizing them. Chapter 16 is very important in your everyday lives. It looks at problem solving and decision making. Some of the major topics are problem solving for total quality, the two models for solving and preventing problems, solving and preventing problems, problem solving and decision making tools, decision making for total quality, and the decision making process. Some of the other aspects in this chapter are objective versus subjective decision making, scientific decision making and problem solving, employee involvement in decision making, the role of information in decision making, using management information systems, creativity in decision making. To get to crux with decision making, we need to basically define decision making. So decision making is a process of selecting one course of action from among two or three alternatives. Decisions should be evaluated not just by results, but also by the process used to make them. A problem is a situation in which what exists does not match with what is desired. Or, put another way, the discrepancy between the current and the desired state of affairs. Problem solving in a total quality setting is not about putting out fires. It is about continual improvement. Two effective problem solving models are the Deming cycle and the Toyota practical problem solving process. Securing reliable information is an important part of problem solving and decision making. W. Edwards Deming recommended the use of the following tools: cause and effect diagrams, flow charts, Pareto charts, run charts, histograms, control charts, scatter diagrams. The decision-making process is a logically sequenced series of activities through which decisions are made. These activities include identifying or anticipating the problem, gathering relevant facts, considering alternative solutions, choosing the best alternative, and implementing, monitoring, and adjusting. All approaches to decision-making are objective, subjective, or a combination of two. Scientific decision making means making decisions based on data rather than on hunches. Complexity in scientific decision making means non-productive, unnecessary work that results when organizations try to improve processes in a haphazard, non-scientific way. The different types of complexity includes errors and defects, breakdowns and delays, inefficiency and variation. There are advantages and disadvantages to employee involvement. Techniques to enhance group decision making are brainstorming, NGT, and teams. Managers should be prepared to counteract group shift and group think. Information is data that has been converted into a usable format that is relevant to the decision-making process. Decision makers are receivers of information who base decisions in whole or in part on what they receive. Technological developments have introduced the potential for information overload, or the condition that exists when people receive more information than they can process in a timely manner. A management information system is a system used to collect, store, process, and present information. Such a system has three components: hardware, software, and people. A management information system can do an outstanding job of providing information about predictable and routine matters. However, many decisions that managers have to make concern problems that are not predictable, for which no data are tracked. Creativity is an approach to problem solving and decision making that is imaginative, original, and innovative. The creative process proceeds in 4 stages: preparation, incubation, insight, verification. Factors that inhibit creativity include looking for just one right answer, being too logical, avoiding ambiguity, avoiding risk, forgetting how to play, fearing rejection, saying, "I am not creative." 3 strategies for helping people think creatively are idea vending, listening, idea attribution. Now we're going on to chapter 17, which is quality function deployment. What is quality function deployment? Introducing quality function deployment's house of quality, developing the sets of customer needs, planning the improvement strategy, selecting the technical requirements, evaluating interrelationship between what's and how's, evaluating the direction of correlation between hows, selecting the design targets, the values of the house. So, quality function deployment is a specialized method for making customer needs, wants, important components of the design and production of the product or service. Developed by Dr. Yoji Akao in 1966, quality function deployment combines quality strategies with function deployment from the field of value engineering. In a sense, with QFD, the customer, the potential user of the product, becomes part of the design team. Introducing QFD's House of Quality, HOQ, the heart of QFD is the set of interrelated matrices known as the House of Quality, so named because of the complex matrix takes on the appearance of a house. Matrix number 1 is customer needs, wants, which is also called the voice of the customer. Customer needs, input data are collected, refined, and prioritized in this matrix. Affinity and tree diagrams are useful tools for refining customer needs data. Coming out of this analysis of needs is an estimate of importance to the customer. Matrix 1 might look like this. We're now looking at Chapter 18, Optimizing and Controlling Processes Through Statistical Process Control. Some of the major topics here is SPC defined, the rationale for SPC, control chart development, the management's role in SPC, the role of total quality tools, authority over processes and production, implementation and deployment of SPC. Inhibitors of SPC. Definition. SPC is a statistical method of separating special cause variation from natural variation to eliminate the special causes and establish and maintain consistency in the process, enabling process improvement. The origin of SPC was in the work of Dr. Walter Shewhart at Bell Laboratories in 1931. Although SPC was ignored in the West, after World War II, Japan adopted and subsequently developed it into total quality. The rationale for SPC includes the following. It enables the control of process variation. It makes possible continual improvement of the process, results in predictability of processes, results in elimination of waste, makes less expensive inspection modes possible. SPC is essential today to evaluate the quality of products and services while lowering costs in order to compete successfully in world markets. We have control chart development. There are several types of control charts, the choice of which being determined by the kind of process under consideration. Further, some control charts are designed for variables, something measured. Others are concerned with attributes, something that can be counted. Different procedures are used for developing these two control charts. Both require upper control limits and lower control limits and a process average. Upper and lower control limits and process average calculations for constructing the control chart are made for the actual process data, which must be of sufficient quantity and taken over a relatively short period. After drawing the blank control chart with UCL and LCL and process average, the data from which the calculations were made are plotted on the chart. No data points can penetrate upper control limit or lower control limit, and there must be no long runs of data on one side of the process average. That will only be true if the process is free of special causes of variation. If that is the case, the chart is ready for use. Continual improvement of processes requires the special causes to be eliminated first. Process improvement narrows the shape of the process's bell curve, resulting in less variation. Continual improvement is a key element of SPC and total quality. SPC enhances the predictability of processes and whole plants. Elimination of waste is another key element of SPC. SPC can help improve product quality while reducing product cost. SPC makes sampling inspection more reliable. SPC supports process auditing as a substitute for more expensive inspection. It requires a capability in statistics, either in-house or through a consultant. Process operators should be key players in any SPC program. Understanding the process is a prerequisite to SPC implementation. All employees involved in SPC must be trained for their involvement. Measurement, repeatability, and reproducibility is essential for SPC. Management's role in SPC is similar to its role in total quality overall. Commitment, providing training and involvement. The 7 tools augmented by flowchart, the 5S, FMEA, and design of experiments are required for SPC. SPC and the operator must have process stop authority. SPC implementation must be carried out in an orderly, well thought out sequence. SPC requires collaborative team activity. We are now on Chapter 19, Continual Improvement. Implementation of deployment of SPC. So Chapter 19 is basically a continuation of Chapter 18. Goes more into detail with SPC. Requires commitment and time of management and other key personnel. Requires commitment and time of management and other key personnel. Requires some expertise in statistics. Must be done in a well-planned, orderly process. Inhibitors of SPC, lacking statistics expertise, may have to bring in outside help. Assigning SPC responsibility to the wrong person or group. The process operator should own SPC on his process. Failing to understand how the process really works. Imperative that the process be accurately flowcharted first. Trying to implement SPC while the process still has special cause variation. Process needs to be cleaned up as much as possible before trying to make control charts. Inadequate training and lack of discipline in process operation. Users need training and process procedures must be followed. Measurement repeatability and reproducibility lacking. Instrumentation and procedures must be made repeatable and reproducible. Otherwise, data is not reliable. Other important aspects in Chapter 19 are continual improvement methods with Six Sigma, Lean and Lean Six Sigma. So we're now looking at the rationale for continual improvement, management's role in continual improvement, essential improvement activities, structure for quality improvement, the scientific approach. Identification of improvement needs. Development of improvement plans, common improvement strategies, additional improvement strategies, the Kaizen approach, Goldratt's theory of constraints, the CDAC approach, the Lean approach, the Six Sigma approach, the Lean Sigma approach, the theory of constraints and the integrated theory of constraints, Lean Six Sigma approach. The rationale for continual improvement is that it is necessary in order to compete in the global marketplace. Just maintaining the status quo, or even if the status quo is high quality, is like standing still in a race. Management's role in continual improvement is leadership. Executive level managers must be involved personally and extensively. The responsibility for continual improvement cannot be delegated. Essential improvement activities include the following: maintaining communication, correcting obvious problems, looking upstream for causes, not symptoms, documenting problems and progress, monitoring change. Structuring for quality improvement involves the following: establishing a quality council, developing a statement of responsibilities, establishing the necessary infrastructure. Using the scientific approach means collecting meaningful data, identifying root causes of problems, developing appropriate solutions, planning and making changes. The ways of identifying improvement needs include the following: multi-voting, which is brainstorming for improvement, identifying customer needs, studying how employee time is spent, localizing problems before trying to solve them. Developing improvement plan involves the following steps: understanding the process through a flow charting, eliminating any obvious errors, removing slack from the process, anything that serves no purpose, reducing variation in processes, special and common causes, planning for continual improvement to become a way of life. Commonly used improvement strategies include the following: describing the process and correcting obvious problems, standardizing the process, make sure the process procedures are followed, eliminating errors and potential errors in the process, streamlining the process, reducing sources of variation, bridging the process under statistical control, improving the design of the process. Additional improvement strategies include reducing lead time, flowing production, using group technology, leveling production, synchronizing production, overlapping production, using flexible scheduling, using pull control, using visual control, using stockless production. Additional improvement strategies include using Jidoka, reducing setup time, controlling work in progress, improving quality, applying total cost cycles, using cost curves, using supplier partnerships, applying total productive maintenance. Kaizen is a name given by the Japanese to the concept of continual incremental improvement. It is a broad concept that encompasses all of the many strategies for achieving continual improvement and entails the following 5 elements. Straighten up. Get rid of any tools, material, etc. not required. Put things in order so that when a tool is needed, it is readily available. Clean up. Keep the workplace neat and clean. Standardize on the best practices and discipline. Everyone adheres to the work procedures. CDAC is an acronym for Cause and Effect Diagram with the addition of cards. This acronym is a registered trademark of Productivity Incorporated. With CDAC, a cause and effect diagram is developed, but fact cards about problems and improvement cards containing ideas for solving the problems are used. The lean approach is based on the just-in-time Toyota production system. A lean operation is one in which a better product is developed or a better service is delivered using less of everything required, meaning human, financial, technological, and physical resources. Lean is about being flexible enough to get the right things to the right place at the right time in the right amounts. Lean is focused on elimination of all waste and continual improvement of products and processes. Six Sigma is a statistically based approach that targets the defect rate at 3.4 million or less. Key elements of Six Sigma include the DMAC roadmap and the infrastructure of green belts, black belts, master black belts, and champions. Like all approaches, Six Sigma aims for quality improvement, but goes further to tie these quality improvement initiatives to the financial elements of the organization. The Lean Six Sigma approach is not a low-calorie variation of Six Sigma, but a linking of JIT, Lean, and the Six Sigma that synergistically combine the benefits of both. The theory of constraints and integrated TOC, Lean Six Sigma approach focuses on the few critical elements that limit performance of the organization by applying theory of constraint tools, eliminates waste with application of lean tools, and reduces variability to ensure process performance and stability with Six Sigma tools. We are now on chapter 20, which is benchmarking. Just as a matter of interest, I'd like to speak to you about benchmarking, and I'm sure you know and realize that a lot of your examination papers concern benchmarking. So what I'm saying is know benchmarking thoroughly. It's important for you. Some of the major topics in this chapter are benchmarking defined, benchmarking versus re-engineering, the rationale for benchmarking, prerequisites to benchmarking, obstacles to successful benchmarking. The role of management, benchmarking approach and processes. Benchmarking is a process for comparing an organization's operations or process with those of a best-in-class performer. The objective of benchmarking is major performance improvement for an inferior process. Benchmarking focuses on processes and practices, not products. Benchmarking is done between consenting organizations. Benchmarking partners are frequently from different industries. Benchmarking is a component of total quality. When continual incremental improvement of a process isn't enough, benchmarking may be the the best route to the needed improvement. Benchmarking offers the best chance for success, but if benchmarking is not possible, process re-engineering might be considered. The rationale for benchmarking is that it makes no sense to stay locked in an isolated laboratory trying to invent a new process when that process already exists. Prerequisites to benchmarking include will and commitment by top management, alignment and vision and strategic objectives, openness to new ideas, knowing what processes are the most important ones and understanding them, processes documented. Obstacles to successful benchmarking include lacking needed skills, benchmarking objective too broad or unmeasurable, timetable unrealistic, incorrect team composition, the wrong choice for a benchmarking partner, insensitivity to partners. Benchmarking must be approached in an organized, well-planned manner with the approval and participation of top management. The benchmarking approach and process include the following: obtaining commitment of top management, baselining your processes, identifying your weak processes and documenting them, selecting the processes to be benchmarked, forming the benchmark teams, researching the best in class, selecting candidates for best in class, forming benchmarking agreements with partners, collecting the process data information, analyzing the data and establishing the performance gap, planning action to close the gap or surpass, implementing the change to the process, monitoring the results, updating the benchmarks, and continuing the cycle. Benchmarking teams must include those who operate the processes. Benchmarking is not restricted within industry boundaries, but only to best-in-class processes. It is necessary for the benchmarker to understand its own process before comparing it with another. Because best-in-class is dynamic, benchmarking should be seen as a never-ending process. Management has a key role in the benchmarking process, including commitment to change, making funds available, authorizing human resources, being actively involved, and determining the appropriate level of disclosure. We're now looking at Chapter 21, Just-in-Time, Lean, and a combination. So the major topics in this chapter are: what do we call it? Just-in-time, Lean defined, rationale for JIT and Lean, development of JIT and Lean, relationship of JIT Lean to total quality and world-class manufacturing, benefits of JIT Lean, requirements of JIT and Lean, automation of JIT Lean. JIT Lean is a preferred generic name for Ono's Toyota production system embodying pull system manufacturing. JIT Lean is a management philosophy that seeks to eliminate all forms of waste. As a production system, JIT Lean produces only what is needed, when it is needed, in the quantity needed. The rationale for JIT Lean is improved product quality with low costs. Taiichi Ohno is credited with the development of the Toyota production system and JIT Lean. JIT Lean began as a means of reducing the 7 wastes. It is a pull system whose small lot production is supported by reduced setup times. Total productive maintenance and statistical process control were integrated to provide the necessary production reliability and predictability. Continual improvement provides the vehicle for the relentless attack on all wastes and the improvement of product quality. JIT Lean is at its best as a part of a total quality system. Results can be severely restricted when JIT Lean is operated without the total quality umbrella. Inventory reduction, shortened cycle time, continual improvement of processes and products, and elimination of waste are all inherent benefits of JIT and Lean. JIT Lean has different set of requirements from the traditional production systems. It requires new skills training, rationalizing production flow for the pull system, empowering operators to take advantage of JIT-Lean's visibility features, guarding against bottleneck vulnerability through TPM, process capability study, SPC and continual improvement, small lot sizes and short setup times, close working relationship with superior suppliers. Although JIT-Lean is compatible with automation, some of the world's best plants use JIT-Lean with very little automation. World-class manufacturing employs JIT-Lean as an integral part of a total quality system, producing the highest quality products at competitive prices. It is not related to the presence or absence of automation. We are now on Chapter 22, Implementing Total Quality. We're looking at some of the major topics covered here are rationale for change, requirements for implementation, the role of top management, leadership, the role of middle management, viewpoints of those involved, implementation variation among organizations, implementation approaches to be avoided, an implementation approach that works, getting on with it, what to do in the absence of commitment from the top, implementation strategies, ISO 9000 and Baldrige. The traditional view of doing business presents the following problems. We are bound to a short-term focus, tends to be arrogant rather than customer focus. We seriously underestimate the potential contribution of our employees, particularly those in hands-on functions. The traditional approach equates better quality with higher costs. The traditional approach is short on leadership and long on bossmanship. The requirements for implementation are as follows. Commitment by top management, the creation of an organization-wide steering committee, planning and publicizing, establishing an infrastructure that supports deployment and continual improvement. The role of top management can be summarized as providing leadership and resources. The role of middle management is facilitation. The implementation approaches that should be avoided are as follows. Don't train all employees at once. Don't rush into total quality by putting too many people in too many teams too soon. Don't delegate implementation. Don't start an implementation before you are prepared. Although implementation must vary with each organization, the 20 fundamental steps must be followed, generally in the order given. Tailoring to the organization's specific culture, values, strengths, and weaknesses is done in the planning phase, steps 12 through 16. Implementation phases are as follows. Preparation phase, planning phase, execution phase. Going through the ISO 9000 registration steps will give an organization a good start on implementing total quality. ISO 9000 is an international standard for providers of goods and services that sets broad requirements for the assurance of quality and for management's involvement. The Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award evaluates candidates for the award according to criteria in several categories as follows. Leadership, strategic planning, customer focus, measurement, analysis and knowledge management, workforce focus, operation focus, and results. That's the end of my chapter 22. Thank you. I hope you enjoy it.